All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for lesson 4 of middle school digital citizenship. We are so excited that you guys are here today. I know that we've really gone over a lot of great content so far already this year. We've talked a lot about how we present ourselves online. And those of you who were really paying attention on the first slide last week might be thinking, ethics of online behavior, this sounds a little familiar, right? So last week we also did ethics of online behavior, but it was social behavior. So it's how we're interacting with others online, how our online behaviors impact others and how others' behaviors impact us. But this week we're really going to be focusing on the professional behaviors. Now, I know personally, one of the professional behaviors that I often need a lot of practice with is time management. So today we're going to be really focusing on balance and time management and how our media comes into play for that. So like with all of our digital citizenship lessons, we are focusing on a few important SEL skills here today. So we're looking at personal well-being, so how our digital use impacts us. And then also self-awareness, so being aware of those habits, being aware of how we are engaging with media and how that's impacting the rest of our lives. So today, our learning objectives, we are going to be making an inventory, meaning kind of really digging in and taking a look at our media choices and how those choices make us feel, how they're impacting the rest of our life. We're going to be brainstorming personal strategies for balancing media use, and then also brainstorming some personal guidelines to promote that healthy balance that we're going to be talking about today. So our essential question today is, what is your strategy for finding media balance? By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to answer that for yourself, or at least be a good part of the way there. And just to define that term for you, a media balance means using media in a way that feels healthy and in balance with other life activities. So things like spending time with family, friends, at school, on hobbies, that type of thing. All right, so we are actually going to start out by watching a quick video. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to watch the first minute or so of this video. And the question that's been posed to teens in this video is, how much time do you spend on your phone? And I'm guessing that a lot of you are probably going to find some of the experience here a little bit familiar. I know I did. If someone asks me how long I spend on my phone, typically I kind of undershoot what I'm actually spending. I tend to think I'm spending a lot less time than I actually am. So we're going to listen to their responses, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time afterward looking at our own media use, phone use. So here we go.
Probably 2 or 3 hours a day. 4 hours?
Maybe like 5 hours total.
I think I spend like 5 hours on my phone.
Probably about like 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day on it, because, you know, that's a school day.
I don't feel like I spend a lot of time on it.
I shouldn't be spending this much time.
Like an hour, maybe.
Should I look?
Let's see. Oh, God.
Yikes. Okay. 2 hours and 58 minutes per day.
Yeah, 6 hours. And Snapchat's the most used. I did not expect that.
8 hours. Oh, 9 hours. 9 hours per day.
Like 6 hours.
Spend 9 hours on my phone.
Because it's 8 hours and 20 minutes a day.
That's a lot.
Last 7 days, it says 2 hours per day. That's a little bit more than I thought.
This is about 6 hours per day.
7 hours and 12 minutes per day.
My 7-day average is 8 hours and 45 minutes per day.
That's a lot.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely more than I thought.
But it is down 14% from last week.
And I actually don't have my phone today because it's broken. You know, it's actually...
Okay, so one thing I really love about that video is that you see the teens sitting there talking, and then when they ask how long they actually spend, immediately they all pull out their phones. They come out of nowhere, right? Out of pockets, from underneath legs. And I think we're all the same way. Our phone is always on us all the time. It's always with us. And I got to do this activity with students in my classroom, and we were all really kind of shocked by our own media use, how often we're on our phones and for how long every day. So our next activity that we're going to look at, sorry guys, is we're going to actually look at our own phone usage. Now, we're not going to spend too much time on this screen. I know most of you already know how to get to your screen time, but I did want to put it up here just in case. So we have an iPhone and an Android, and both of those platforms will let you look at your own media use. If you go to your settings, you can get there on both phones, and it's going to show you a breakdown of how much time you're spending on average every day, every week, and what type of media you're on. So for instance, are you on social media? Are you on productivity apps? Are you on entertainment like Netflix, Hulu, that kind of thing? So take a second, guys, if you would. If you have access to this, go ahead and pull it up on your phone. And if you don't, just try and kind of think anecdotally, like how long do you think you're spending on your phone on a day-to-day basis? And what we're going to do is we're going to discuss as a class. I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and you're going to think about your own media use and just sort of discuss what was the most frequently used type of media in your classroom. So social media, entertainment, productivity, or if you want to get specific with an app, that's okay too. And then how much time on average are you spending on that media every day or every week? All right, so take a few minutes to discuss, take about a minute, and then we're going to check back in. Teachers, if you would drop the answers your class is giving in the chat, and then we're going to talk through a couple of those. All right, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go back a screen while I'm talking just because some people asked if we could put the instructions back up for how to find that content. I don't know if it'll let me. Here we go. But we did hear some great responses. So Coach Graves over at Pike said that we have students saying up to 15 hours of screen time a day. A lot of students are saying anywhere from like 3 to 9 hours. And a lot of the time that we're spending is on Snapchat and on FaceTime. So apps where we are engaging with other people, but time that we are spending on our phone. And we also have Kevin Barry's class says Snapchat, Netflix, messages, TikTok, and Roblox. So a good mix there of like games, social media apps, entertainment, that type of thing. So we're using our phones for all types of media. So I find this graphic really interesting because it shows how we feel based on how long we're spending on an app, any given app. So what I find really interesting is that we sometimes think that if we, binge Netflix for, 3 hours, that makes us happy. And sometimes we need that time. But what we actually find, according to this research, is that really watching 1 or 2 shows is what makes us feel good. And then you can see over time, as we spend more and more time on that app, we start to feel less well. So take a second and look at some of these. A lot of them are very close, if we spend just a little bit too much time, but a lot of these, if we're spending really long periods of time on these apps, it's affecting the way that we feel. So I want you guys to take just a second to look at that and see if you can find an app on there that you spend time on. I know I spend more time than I should on Instagram for sure. And I definitely can relate to this, that, if I'm spending 20, 30 minutes on it just every day, then it's not bad. I feel like I'm connecting with people, I'm learning interesting things. But then if I start to scroll in that endless scroll for a couple hours, which can go faster than you think, I don't feel great when I get off of it because I realize how much time I actually just spent on that. All right, so what we'd like for you guys to do as a class is to choose one of the following questions to discuss and post your answer. So either think about what are some positive effects of media use, so some things that it really does bring to our lives that's beneficial, and then what are some negative effects of media use? So you can pick which one you guys want to discuss. I'm going to give you just a minute to talk about that, and then pop your answers in the chat. All right, thank you guys so much. We're getting some really great responses in the chat. Tara Durst at Medlin, her class said that some of the positives is that you can share ideas and connect with friends. Other people are pointing out, like Casey York's class over at Tidwell, that it lets you stay in contact with family. You can communicate with family and friends. A lot of other people are pointing out some of the aspects that are positive is it can tell us about warnings or emergencies in our local area. That's absolutely true. I know I get Twitter updates when there's like flash flood warnings a couple weeks ago when we had all that rain. But then some of the negatives that we're seeing is that, comparisons can make us feel sad if we're spending too much time on social media, for instance. And some of the things we talked about last week, right, with the drama and the rumors and some of the hate speech, really can kind of fuel those fires. And then a lot of people are also pointing out that it can lower our attention span, which definitely, when it comes to time management, we need a lot of help with. All right, so thank you guys so much for joining us for this session today, where we were talking about being ethical online users and digital citizens. I want to remind you guys that we do have the Family Connections Hub, where you're going to be able to go and see activities and discussions that you can have with your family about this topic. I actually have that pulled up over here. So if you go to the Family Connections Hub, here are the materials for this lesson. We've got some table talk starters. If you want to talk to your parents and your family, your siblings about, how you guys are using your screens, whether technology is something that anyone struggles with, or that whether you believe it impacts you, and how that's impacting your day-to-day life and your relationships within your family. So we really, really appreciate you guys being here today. I am going to drop in the chat. We have a form that you can use as a little exit ticket. And it's tinyurl.com/NISD-DC feedback. And if you would, we only want teachers to be responding in the form for this one, just kind of an overall reflection on our lesson today. And again, we thank you so, so much for joining us. We know these lessons are so impactful, and we really appreciate getting to talk to you about these important topics. So let's make it a great Thursday. And we have one day left until our 3-day weekend. So you guys have a great rest of your week.